So one really common request that I receive from a lot of my clients is, "Will you talk to my family member?" Well, can I just call you, Dave, and put you on speaker, and then you just talk to my family, or they can ask you questions. A lot of you guys will take my videos and try to show them to your families, but the thing is, I've kind of spread everything out more for you guys. There's nothing that's just, "Hey, attention, family." So this video is for your family. So the first thing you need to know is that your family member is not faking it. Okay, I've heard this come up so many times. It's infuriating, and in a way, I get it, because if you're watching your family member, sometimes it's like, I told my sister's always had problems, or, if she just took her meds like she should, or, I think it's all in her head, or she's too emotional. I mean, we have a bad problem about rationalizing mental health and mental illness in this country, especially when we have never gone through any of it. I hear it all the time. "Oh wow, she's depressed because her marriage. Now get over it." It's like, hey, listen, we're all different. Just because maybe you're really strong and that wouldn't have crippled you, that's not the same formula for everybody. And also keep in mind that, look, on any given day, any one of us can fall victim to some kind of mental health crisis, right? You could be standing there with your loved one in the corner, and a guy runs a red light and smacks your friend or your wife or your husband, and wow, devastated, life turned upside down. You lose a kid. You trust your doctor. You got put on something just to help you sleep. All right. So the first thing you need to know, they're not making it up. Okay. Nobody makes this up. Nobody would lose everything and do all that. I mean, why would they do that? And so it's not all in their heads, guys. That's the first thing you have to understand. Your family member, your friend, they're going through something very profound. I mean, I like to equate it a lot of times to help us understand it. It's like if they were going through chemotherapy and cancer treatments, right? And you're going, okay, they're emotional, they're weak, they're basically disabled, they're riddled with anxiety and depression and fear of their condition. Will they ever get better? All these type of things. But with cancer, we just we get it. We go, oh, they have cancer. Let me do the dishes. Let me try to put on some funny movie or something. Let me try to change the channel of your mind and get you out of this fearful. We just have this empathy, this compassion for something like cancer that we don't seem to have, a lot of us anyway, a lot of our family and friends, for people going through benzo recovery. And that's because we can't see it, and we don't know what it is. Well, show me. Where's the chart? Can you measure the brain doing these things? We don't know. We don't know what we're looking at, and we can't rationalize it like we can cancer. But nonetheless, it's devastating. Many people, guys, lose their lives. They lose this fight. So the first thing, second thing you need to know about how serious this is, people commit suicide all the time because of this. People end up on many other medications. They injure themselves. They harm themselves. It's very serious. It's a very serious crisis right now. And you should really be looking after your loved one with a real sense of compassion, and not blow this off, because God forbid the worst thing happened, especially after seeing this video. I hope that it resonates with you, that you don't blow that off. And then later, if something, like the worst case scenario should happen, you go, well, I did know. People did tell me that this was much more serious than I had initially believed, The second thing another thing I want to say is, they're not an addict. Your loved one is not an addict. They weren't someone that was taking Xanax or something, trying to get high, trying to escape life, having fun. I mean, these are most of my clients. I say 99% of them started taking benzo to treat something. They trusted their doctor. They took it as prescribed. They didn't get high. They didn't drink and do drugs on top of it or whatever. They just did it. They took it like the doctor prescribed it. Fast forward 3, 5, 10 years later, 20 years later, their life is totally turned upside down. They're losing everything, and they're losing their mind. They're losing their emotions, and that's the thing about it. It's so ugly, right? I think to anyone on the outside, it's difficult to be there for us at times. I know I was. God, I was snapping at everybody. I was depressed and angry and anxious, and I was no fun to be around, and I know that. I know that I wasn't no fun. I tried to remember that and apologize and keep people that were around me to sort of understand what I was going through. But I know it wasn't fun. But not being fun and just being difficult is, again, not a reason to turn your back on your family, right? So they're not an addict. And here's another way of knowing the difference. An addict has addict behavior. They rob, they steal, they take the drug to get high. There's this sort of addictive behavior that's associated with it. It's not true with benzos. Also, addicts, they're addicted to everything. Once you're in that part of the brain, it could be gambling, sex, whatever, alcohol, and I don't see that. Surprisingly, I don't see that actually. Almost none of my clients drink or smoke weed or do anything. I mean, they in fact they couldn't. They said, God, even if I wanted to have a glass of wine, I'm terrified about it because it affects similar parts of the brain as the benzo. So they're not an addict. So never treat your family member like an addict. That is the worst thing you could do. It's like if they had cancer, like somehow blaming them. Well, it's your fault you have cancer, you know. Even if, well, you shouldn't have smoked those cigarettes. Horrible, horrible thing to say to someone. So I hope you guys don't do that. And I trust most of you don't. Another thing to remember is your family member has to taper slow. If they go too fast, higher relapse rates, right? So you're going, well, Dave, I don't know. I mean, I heard, my daughter, I know her psychiatrist said that, he wanted her off in two months or 2 weeks or something. And he's a medical doctor. Wouldn't he know better? I mean, aren't all these people in these groups and video just like outliers, people like you said yourself, Dave, that are just not healing and things like that? Yes and no, to a point, right? Now, there's largely there's a problem in psychiatric, in the psychiatric community, and they are addressing this. So this is something that is changing. Benzos used to be the first line defense against anxiety and sleep and things like that. Now, they're completely changing that. Now it's SSRIs, and you can look that up. It's a fact. They're changing. Why? Because a growing body of research is coming out, and they're finding out, hey, benzos are more damaging than we thought. I mean, not only are they very habit forming, very addictive or dependent building, but they can affect memory, they can affect cholesterol, they can affect all kinds of stuff in the body. And the withdrawal is sheer hell. And the relapse is higher than I think anything. I mean, I can't think of anything that's higher than the relapse of benzo. It's astronomical. Why? Because unlike other drugs, like let's say your family member had an addiction to heroin, that's just fight or flight, right? That's just a part of the brain it's just a part of the brain that's associated with feeling good, rewards, pleasure, dopamine, things like that, right? But when you come off benzo, it's a different part of the brain. It's a different mechanism entirely. It's a fight or flight survival instinct that they're working on now. Now it's like having a fire alarm in their brain that just goes off no matter what. I mean, it could be a drop of a plate, a flashing light, laughing, having sex. I mean, you wouldn't believe this stuff. Any stimulus that gets too heightened too quickly, it causes a startling effect in the nervous system, triggers a panic attack, which then can trigger more panic attacks, which then makes the person completely depressed, which alters their chemistry, and can create a complete episode, which, I've heard people call them setbacks. I like to think of them as episodes, so not setbacks. This is what your family member's up against. So they have to go slow in their taper, right? How slow? Well, let's say they were on 10 milligrams of Valium. Typical rule, 2 to 4 weeks per milligram is a good loose guide. I know people are going to go, but they should take as long as they want. Well, look, on 10 milligrams of Valium, if it takes you more than 2 years, I argue with that method. I just argue with. I think you're doing more damage than good. Feel free to debate me in the comments. But no, if we go down that road, I will pull up peer-reviewed evidence to back my claims. Why do doctors taper so fast? Again, this is economics. This is why we're moving everything down to social workers, master level clinicians. Our country wants to pay less for mental health. If we can throw medicine at it, great. It's all economics. I mean, Dr. Heather Ashton, she was a big leader in the benzo world. She advised that we go slow. Many, many physicians advise that we go slow. Doctors, psychiatrists across the board are beginning to change their approach to tapering. I mean, so to answer your question, this is a phenomenon that's being recognized in the medical community, right? This is not just some crazy fringe thing that your family member, your loved ones on anti-meds and anti-psychiatry, No, this is bigger than that. This is a real problem in the medical field, and they're working on it. They're trying, and we're all doing what we can to sort of assist that as well. So, benzo laws are changing. SSRIs are now the first line defense. An antidepressant is typically what they use because, again, they realize the dangers of benzos. So here's the question. How do you, knowing that, how do you help your loved one, right? And I say give them care, try to understand what they're going through, and be a motivational force in their life. And that would be like, that is godsend. If you could just be someone to listen to their problems, but don't ruminate with them. Don't spend 4 hours a day just talking about how they may not heal and all these problems and damn this doctor and damn what I've lost and damn everything. Excuse me. That's not good. What you want to do is, hey, let's watch a comedy. Let's have a conversation. Let's go for a walk. Let's have a nice meal. Let's talk about what are you going to do when you're healed. Let's talk about the future. Are you thinking of going back to college, or that business thing you wanted to do? Or how's that book you're writing? How's that artwork you're working on? What about that music that you haven't played in a while? These are the things that we need. We need someone just to be there. And sometimes just being there in quiet, just sitting on the couch with us and just keeping us company is, wow, invaluable and priceless. And so I always say, if you can't help them, don't hurt them, right? That means if you don't understand it and it's just so frustrating, walk away. Don't say anything defeating. Don't tell them it's their fault. Don't tell them they're a loser. Don't remind them of what they lost. Don't tell them they're weak. Don't remind them of their whole life and everything they've ever got wrong. I mean, what is this? Why do we dump on people like that? And I think the short answer is because we love them and we're frustrated and we don't know what to do, damn it. We've been watching them struggle for X amount of years, and it's just so frustrating. And I get that. But there's better ways to articulate that to someone you love, and why push them over the edge? That's not your intention. So we got to be careful with that. And so finally, be their angel, be a saint, because when they get out of this, they're going to look back on you, and I'll tell you what, this is a chance for you to become literally a saint in their eyes. I mean, when I look back, there was only a couple people in my life that really had my back when I was going through this, and when I came off this, even to this day, I look back and go, God, what saintly people. What great work they did. I'm so thankful to them. I love them so much for what they did. And this is that opportunity to be kind of a hero to your friend, to not be the person, just another person in their life, tearing them down, building a wall, telling them they can't do it, telling them it's their fault, telling them they need to go back on the meds, they need to do this, they need to go to the hospital, that, it's all in their head, walk it off. It's the worst thing you could do. So don't condemn them, don't judge them. And just remember, right, as weird as all this looks, this could have been you. Easily. I mean, I've had someone, they couldn't sleep, they got on a benzo. I had someone that had a panic attack from a new big job, and they got on a benzo. Someone that went through a divorce and got on a benzo. Me, I had a muscle spasm. I got on it for a neck injury, as a muscle spasm. So don't look down on people. Don't look at them as just they're weak or they're problematic and this is typical. Here we go again. No, it's the wrong attitude. And so if you can't help them, then get away from them. Just don't be there. It's better than nothing, right? I mean, it's better than the alternative. But if you can be there for them, be a saint.